Welcome to Cast That Movie with Paul Muad'Dib, Smoke the Bear, and Boy George.
Hi, and welcome to Cast That Movie, Season 2, where myself, Paul Muad'Dib, Smoke the Bear, and Boy George go through some movies. This season, we did things a little different. It doesn't necessarily have to be a complete flop, but we try to keep it in that range. A movie that has a really poor audience score, critic score, that type of thing. So we'll cast that movie like we did last season. But for the second half of the episode, we dive into animated projects and making them live movies. However, that will be changing going forward. We'll talk all about that. But first, Smoke the Bear, Boy George Porridge, how are we doing?
Jesus Christ. Better now that this movie's over and done with.
That's right. That one was a rough one.
So for those of you that maybe didn't watch the first episode, either go back and do that, or you're watching the tagline, you're going, oh man, they're reviewing Bug. Why the shit did they do that to themselves? Yeah, Bug was a bad one, you guys. So initial thoughts on the movie first, before we get into the plugs and everything. What is your initial thoughts about the movie Bug?
Let's see. Well, okay, so I watched it when it first came out. A blessed 15 goddamn years ago. And it was garbage. No surprise. I remember hating it so much to where I would just tell people to not watch it because it was just that bad. And then when we rewatched it for this goddamn podcast, it's still bad. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely still bad. But I'm being older now and understanding different things. My brain, it doesn't hate it as much, or at least doesn't hate it for the reasons I did when I was younger. So,
ooh, we'll dig into that. Smoke the Bear, your thoughts on Bug?
Well, I had no idea what to expect because I never even heard of the movie. So that was all new to me. But let's say we tried to watch this movie and it's so obscure that, we had to go into the deep recesses of the internet to find it. And ended up watching an equally terrible movie.
Also called Bug. And it's a 2014 Bug. Fuck that movie. Harder than watching this Bug. Fuck that movie harder than watching Waterworld. Fuck that movie harder than watching any sea movie that you've ever seen in your whole life. Fuck that more than a middle school play.
Yeah, you guys. So behind the scenes, we obviously we're talking about the movies, things of that nature. We're going to be watching it, making sure they're seeing it. And I got a message from Smoke the Bear and Boy Richard, and they said, "Is this the right movie?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Well, you should watch it because we just sat through it." And I only got through 15 minutes of it, and I'm like,
motherfucker, you were supposed to watch the whole shit.
I couldn't. I just couldn't do it.
Motherfucker, look, okay, 15 minutes isn't even enough to hate it properly.
So I want to get
anyway.
I want to hear more about that one because, again, I only got 15 minutes in. First of all, of course, if you're listening to this podcast, you're listening on multiple different places. Either you're listening to it on Spotify, you're listening to it on maybe SoundCloud, but it's also up on the joedown.blog. It's also up on YouTube, which is the Pod Down. So there's a lot of different places you can be checking this out. And if you're not going over and you're just listening on, say, SoundCloud or Spotify, I encourage you to go to the joedown.blog, where there is a lot of different entertainment on there. There's a lot of different shows, a lot of different writings. So please check that out. Support the page. And also you can talk to us directly on the new Facebook page, the Joe Down Pod Down. So, okay. Yes. Talk to me about this other movie, Bug. Please, please, please.
Oh.
Actually, wait. Before we go there, I'm sorry. Before we go there, let's actually jump to an ad and then come back and talk about that. Okay, so we'll go to our first ad break and then we'll be back. Do you believe the government has targeted you for surveillance? Do you have tracking devices embedded in your skin and teeth? Has your abusive ex been pushing you away from your beliefs? Then you need QAnon. QAnon understands and will support your conspiracy theories. In fact, if you donate monthly to anything related to Donald Trump, we'll add, that's right, add to the number of conspiracy theories you currently believe in as our gift to you. So donate now and spread your, no wait, our crazy fears to everyone. Wow. Our sponsors are absolutely out of batshit left field this week, or this episode, I should say, or this podcast. We really need to work on maybe some kind of quality assurance before we bring people on the air. So before the break, we started talking about a 2014 bug movie that somehow, in some way, Smoke the Bear and Boy Judd found. So yeah, what do you got? Talk to me about that.
So we'll go into how we were supposed to watch Bug. You know, we were, I don't know. Again, I watched it when it first came out, so we're talking about, like, I don't know any sort of. We finally pushed play, and again, I hadn't seen this movie since it came out. Like, I want to say maybe not the premiere day, but yeah, somewhere in the premiere weekend. So Obviously, I don't recall what the fuck I'm supposed to be watching. I don't know what the intro's like. Yeah, I don't know what it was like in the beginning. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm like, absolutely. Okay, all right. So we get to the opening scene, and it's this weird ass, like, it's somber music, and I was like, okay, this is different. All right, cool. And then we get into this little girl that's talking about, like, what her mom said or something in the beginning, and it's like a quote, and I'm like, cool. And then they were talking about, you know, what, like, morals, and I'm like, strange. Wait a minute, but, like, I'm already in it, because now I need to know, where's this going?
What is it?
We were fucking 37 minutes into this bitch, and I was like, wait a minute, where the fuck is Ashley Judd?
Movie at all.
Where the fuck is Michael Shannon? So since there's a little girl in the beginning, I was like, man, I don't remember there being a fucking flashback for this movie. I was like, what the fuck happened? And so this movie was so bad. The playwright was awful. The transitions were awful. There were scenes that didn't even need to be in the thing. Yeah, like they just showed it. They just showed her, like, killing, like, okay. Yeah, like, it's her and her brother. And, okay, well, let's give you the premise of the fucking movie. So the premise is their grandfather, well, it's like this family, the mom, the daughter, and the son. And I guess their dad went to jail for whatever reason. It's race-related, of course. The grandfather he's this cop. And we all know how we feel about those. And he's smoking a cigarette, and obviously he's not supposed to be smoking it because, like, it's so high up. Yeah, like, hidden high up. But mind you, he only lives by himself, so he's just hiding shit from himself like a dumbass. And since he starts smoking this fucking cigarette on the stool.
Inside, and, like, you're hiding the cigarettes, and then you light it in the kitchen?
In the house. So, like, already I'm fucking mad.
Still on the stool.
So then this motherfucker has, like, a stroke or whatever the fuck, falls off the stool, blah, now he's in the hospital. Next scene, you know, everybody's like, oh, grandpa, what happened, grandpa? Ew. And we're like, oh, man, all right, okay. And so...
we're, like, almost an hour in. We're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. And so the mom's like, oh, well, you can stay with us. And then the son is like, no,
Dad
wouldn't like that. You know Dad wouldn't like that. We can't have him there. Anyway, so grandfather starts living there. And he's rehabilitating or whatever. And, like, he's got these really racist fucking values. Like awfully racist. Like, no surprise.
The son is dating a Hispanic girl, and he has some, like, real colorful things to say about her.
Mm-hmm. But, like, the grandfather has colorful things to say in the beginning. because there's a scene where the brother and the sister, mind you, now the sister's name is Bug. Okay, so here's that.
Okay.
And the little girl's like, "Oh, do you think that grandpa and everyone else is going to be okay with like you two dating?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it's not like that. Like, we don't really care about stuff like that, and we don't know yet that
Where
it's
his
because she's
mind
we don't know that it's because she's Hispanic. We just know like, oh well, fuck, maybe she's a punk, like who knows." And some more time goes on, and then like the grandfather says more and more racist things.
The little girl is like trying to get him to admit to a racist murder. Like there's this guy who got killed, but they say that like he raped someone. And so like other people are saying that this guy was like in a totally different town when the rape supposedly happened. And so it was just kind of like it was a lynching, and the cop killed him.
Jesus Christ, you guys!
Right.
He got away with it because he's the white
He's
sheriff or
and
whatever.
he's like the cop of all cops.
Right. And so he just played it off as like, oh, well, no, he raped that woman, so I killed him because like I feared for my life and he was a rapist.
Right.
But he wasn't.
So like at one point, like they show this weird ass scene of like a minister or a pastor or like someone who helps with the sound, who's like really important, but he's gay. And like they just kind of drop in that he's gay. They're like, yeah, well, he's gay. And like continue about their life. But he helps with like the sound equipment, and
He helps the little girl set up the microphones in the house to try to catch him.
Yeah.
To it. So she's like this 9-year-old trying to get her grandpa to admit to lynching this man.
Right. So
that dad
back
could like
to the
get out of
rat.
jail or something.
Right.
Wasn't that
so
To
back
Kill a
to
Mockingbird?
It's a lot, man.
It's a lot. So back
and
to
it
the rat.
Slow.
It was slow. At one point, the brother and the sister, they're like shooting arrows or some shit, like just because
just because that's the scene that they wanted to put in.
Yeah, that's just what the fuck they wanted to put in. And the brother, like the little girl, like Bug, she says something, and then like the brother is like, "What?" And then like shoots the arrow, and you hear me. And so then they both walk up, and like this rat is like dying, and he's like, "Look what you made me do," and like pulls out the arrow.
It just leaves.
And leaves the rat. And Bug's like, "Well, what do we do?" And he's like, "Just leave it. It'll die naturally." And so like the next scene is it's later at night, and the rat is still like chilling, minding its own fucking business. And she just takes either a shovel or a rock and kills the rat.
Yeah. Like,
that's it. That's all. That's the only.
And walks away, and that's the end scene. And it never calls back to it.
Ever. At any point.
It's a weird ass movie, dude.
And you call in a couple scenes, and then like she's like wired already, and like trying to get him to say whatever the fuck, and like the gay pastor's like, "Well, he said a whole bunch of bullshit to me when I was younger about me being gay, so this would be a great time to get back at him." Ooh. And like he's hiding in their closet thing so that he can hear all the sound, and she's like trying to get him to admit something, and he's like, "Here, if you feel like you wanna be the tough guy, here," and like gives her this fully loaded ass gun and is like, "Here, point it at me." And so essentially starts making her reenact whatever the fuck he did to this poor black guy that he fucking murdered. And she like is about to pull the trigger, and he's like, "See, do you feel better?" And she was like, and then just leaves. And goes back to old boy. And so then, because the grandfather didn't like the gay dude, he sees her, like, they're making noise. And he walks in on this little girl and, like, the gay dude. And, like, he's like, "Oh, get away from her, you savage." And, like, murders the fuck out of that guy.
Shot him in the chest right in front of her.
And she's like, "Oh fuck," and he's like, "Oh, we'll try to do this, whatever. We'll cover this up." And like, minds his own fucking business. And then so she got everything, like she backed everything up. She had her own little fucking like videotape copy. Took it to the sheriff and was like, "This is what happened." And they took it and they were like, "Do you think that?" They broke it and they were like, "Do you think that your grandfather, like after everything that your grandfather did, you think that he would appreciate this?" And she was like, "Fuck." So then she goes to another fucking county to go tell another ass sheriff, and that sheriff is with him too, and broke the fuck out of it and was like, said the same exact thing. Anyway, so the whole movie is called Bug because her name is Bug, because the mom says, oh, well, you know, we called you Bug because you kept bugging us. But it's really Bug because she's a fucking bug. Like, she's a narc.
You know, okay, I have to say, we talked a little bit about this. I tried to find this movie, anything about this movie. I looked up the year. I looked up everything. The closest thing I could come to was a movie called Bugs 3D, which is a Chinese horror film, which is not like...
That's not it either.
That's not it.
You guys, another movie pops up, but it's an 11-minute short in Australia called Surviving Bug. There is
2017.
Yeah, it's 2017.
Oh, 2017. My apologies.
Okay, no, that's okay. So now, yeah, you said though, I brought it up, that maybe we should do this movie instead.
Hell
you
no.
You guys both said no.
It's
Fuck
terrible.
no.
Because
Fuck
there's
no.
nothing you can do to fix this movie. I'm seeing this.
You couldn't even shit on it and fucking put everybody at gunpoint to make this shit better. This was so bad. I know that's not what we're here for.
Yep.
But there's no way to recast this. Like, none.
So
None.
after watching that, and then we watched, the Ashley Judd movie, and I was like, oh,
This is nowhere near as bad.
This is okay.
This is a good ass movie.
So this movie has a 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb. And the writer-director, it was written and directed and produced
By Parker
and
Doris, I think.
edited by the same person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's always a kiss of death when you have the writer-director is also producing and editing the movie. Typically, you know you're in for a shit show. Okay. Well, thank you for walking me down that and the audience with that. So
it's garbage.
it was no, by all means, we need that. So let's talk about what we did all end up watching together, which was the 2006 film psychological horror Bug. We'll talk a little bit about this. I'm just going to talk about kind of the production and kind of the reception and everything with this movie. And I think you guys chime in at any point. So this movie was made on a shoestring budget of $4 million. Okay. Not a lot went into this particular movie. All the sets were done by the guy that did Hostel and the Rocky Balboa movie. And it's really set up in 3 interconnected rooms: a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. Right? We all know that. And the exterior shots were filmed in California and outside of high school.
The interior was in Louisiana.
Yeah, it was at a gay bar called a lesbian bar called Boomerang's Bar in New Sarpy, Louisiana. The film took 21 days to make.
Yeah, it did. You could tell.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the release and the genre of this movie, okay? Now, to give you guys an idea, it premiered... Now, again, this was a $4 million budget. And you had Michael Shannon, Ashley Judd, and it had Harry Connick Jr., who all are kind of gets in a way. Like, those are, call it what you will. Harry Connick Jr. is always in, like, rom-coms and things like that as of late. And, Ashley Judd, she is normally a terrific actress. And Michael Shannon, I love Michael Shannon. To give you guys an idea how bad this was, it premiered in over 1,600 theaters in May of 2007. Its opening weekend, it only earned $3.24 million. But the weekend it came out, there was 4 other movies that were out in theaters at that time. Not necessarily came out that weekend, but there was Pirates of the Caribbean 3, Shrek 3, and Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, they had no choice. No chance.
No chance. Now,
Did terrible.
it earned... Now, I want to bring this out here. It earned $3.24 million in those 1,600 theaters. It released to France earlier, $216,000 on 66 screens. This movie ended up only bringing in $8 million. Now, when you sit there, and I was talking with Smoke of the Bear earlier today as we were getting prepared for the podcast, and we were talking about budgets and things like that when it comes to movies. And I explained that just because of a movie doubles its money, that isn't necessarily a good thing, because there's marketing involved. There's a lot of different things involved. This movie premiered at Cannes, so there's a lot of things that are being put out there. That's a giant loss. They were expecting a lot more out of it. Now, and I think the big problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong if you guys disagree with this, it's the genre of the film. What genre would you call this movie?
This is definitely more of a psychological thriller. It's definitely not horror, but later I will explain. I can understand why they said it would be horror.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least for that time, for like fucking 2006. I can understand, just because of like the different avenues that they tried to take with the movie.
Yep. And what do you think, Smoke the Bear? Do you think
I think psychological thriller.
Okay, so you agree with Gerard Butler over here?
Yeah, because it's like anxiety. Like, that's what the movie relies on.
So, to give you guys an idea, this was directed by the guy who did The French Connection and The Exorcist. This was directed by the one and only William Friedkin. Now, he said that in 1960s or 1970s, this would have been a horror film, but insists that no such thing exists anymore. Kind of gives you guys an idea of where I think he's at in terms of he's gotten old in his own ways. And he said the marketing is mysterious in the way that marketed this movie. He's like, this isn't really a genre film, but it's a comedy, it's a melodrama, it's a love story, it's a horror film, it's an adventure film.
That's a really extravagant way to say it's a really bad movie.
Well,
right.
And this,
it's not any of those things. It's I can see how he's saying like, oh, it's like a old school thriller or old school horror movie.
Yeah.
But those evolved into thrillers.
In the thrillers, and also even in the somewhat of a drama, right? Like, there's some movies that are like, yeah, okay, you have some psychological elements, but that's really how I would have sold this movie in marketing. Is it's a drama, and it's based on a play.
Right.
It's a drama. I mean, it's literally the definition of a drama. And let's talk about
like ex-boyfriend drama, girlfriend drama, like
yes. And this, you get in this movie, it's not really a horror. It is a drama to me because, as we'll get into that about the kind of the synopsis. But really, this movie is about a dude with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how that affects those around him.
Right.
And that's a fucking drama.
I mean, other people with PTSD.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to pinpoint like the things that happened, and just, I guess, because of things that happened, it just kind of progressed into other things.
Right. Now, this movie is also written by a guy by the name of Tracy Letts. Okay.
Who was great.
Tracy Letts is written a lot of good stuff for the theater. Now, Tracy wrote Bug back in 1996, 10 years prior, but he's written The Man from Nebraska, Orange, Osage County, Superior Donuts, Three Sisters, The Stretch, Linda Vista. I mean, this guy's done a lot of stuff. He's been a screenwriter. He's done a lot of film.
He loves Broadway. And the way that he wrote it would have been fantastic for Broadway.
Yeah.
Even just the play itself, like if you read the play itself, you're like, cool, this is great, but it would not be good for the screen time that he wanted.
Right. I mean, to give you guys, again, this guy, he is great. For his film, he's done Lady Bird, which was given a lot of accolades. He did Ford versus Ferrari. He has helped do the screenplay for the new Ghostbusters that's coming out later this year, Ghostbusters Afterlife. He did Little Women. This guy is really, really good. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of problems. So let's go through the kind of the plot of this movie. And please, let's chime in our issues with it, because I have issue, like, really awful one. So the movie opens with this dead body in a weird ass room, right? And then we meet Ashley Judd, who's a waitress at a gay bar, living in a rundown hotel in Oklahoma, which seems like I'm already taken out of the reality of this movie.
For real, like, Goddamn Oklahoma. First of all, no offense to any of the audience members that are listening, but fuck Oklahoma. It's the fact that they chose Oklahoma. Like, I understand for everything else in the movie, like, you tried to coincide with it, but, like, first of all, like, you shouldn't have gone with Louisiana if you were going to do Oklahoma. You shouldn't have filmed in California if you were going to do Oklahoma. Like,
Right.
that's my biggest qualm, is like, it was not on site. Like, if you were gonna say it's Oklahoma, like, fucking deal with
Film
the
on
raggedy
site.
ass everything that comes with
Mhm.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It would be a little bit more believable.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, because none of it looks like Oklahoma, right? Like, none of it really looks like
Right.
Oklahoma. You're like, oh, that's California. And like, wait a minute. That's
Right.
not Oklahoma.
Right.
I forgot it was supposed to be in Oklahoma until you guys said so.
Yeah, right. It's not Oklahoma. So, she's unable. She had one of her sons disappeared, and she's been doing, getting on fucking benders with her lesbian friend RC.
Who she kisses and makes
Yep.
out with.
Because it's Ashley Judd, and that's what she does, and that's awesome.
Because, like, since we're doing Bug, we decided to, since we had no nipples in Waterworld,
Yes.
we're doing all the nipples here for
all
Bug.
the nipples here, and there's a lot of nipples in this movie.
Yeah, there's both
There's-
on and off
That's
screen.
Yeah, yes. So now we get to the part where we'll get into it a little bit more, but she's been getting silent phone calls that she thinks are being made by her abusive ex. Keep that in mind, her abusive ex-husband, played by Kerry Connick Jr., which is like totally against type for him,
Mhm.
who has just recently been released from prison.
It's also very important to remember that the only two different kind of specials for the gay bar is 4 quarters and a jack and 4 shots of wild turkey. That's all you can get. So they were trying to commit to the bit, but no.
No, it's not working. And then RC somehow knows this Peter Evans, Michael Shannon. Now, here's the other thing I have a problem with this. Okay, it's hopefully this kind of this rural Oklahoma, right? Like, kind of everybody. Like, dude, I live in the Midwest. You've recently come out to the Midwest. Everybody knows fucking everybody when you're in a rural area like that, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Mhm.
Like, you just don't run across fucking like Michael Shannon. Like, oh, we know Michael Shannon. Like, I know this Peter Evans, but he's a
Right.
drifter that comes
Right.
in the town. Agnes and Peter, from her PTSD of her son's disappearance and being abused by Harry Connick Jr., the drama starts, not the psychological horror, the drama starts, where these two get together and have a very toxic relationship.
Codependent.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
but see, it almost it's like it's instant that like the codependency happens, because she's talking to homegirl and she's like, oh man, who the fuck did you bring over here? And she's like, no, he's cool. Like, he's cool. Like, if you don't like it, like, come to the party afterwards and we'll get fucked up, which she's already doing. Like, they were already getting fucked up. So there's that. But like, she makes a comment and she's like, I don't know, like, fucking, why'd you invite this serial killer over here? And that was the exact moment where Michael Shannon was like, oh, I'm trying to be with that bitch. Like, that's the exact first sign of trauma bonding, because he says, I'm not a serial killer 3 fucking times after that. Yeah, I counted, because, I'm supposed to. And
absolutely you are.
And
you're a professional,
like,
God damn it.
Fucking for real. And he's like, I'm not a serial killer. And so she doesn't respond to it. And then when he says it the second time, homegirl kind of glances, and then he's like, well, I'm not a serial killer. And she's like, no, I didn't say that. And he's like, you super did. And so now, not only are they trauma bonded, but she like lightweight fucking intoxicatedly gaslit him. So he's like, yeah, this shit is tight as fuck. You know what? I'm gonna stay here. I love her.
And then he very quickly flips things around and convinces her that he was a subject of biological testing for the U.S. government, and convinces her that the silent phone calls are being made by the government agents who somehow know he's going to show up. Knew before. This is some grade A QAnon conspiracy theory shit. Like, this is, sorry sponsor, but it is. And like right away, the fact that she's in on it, like, again, this is my problem with this movie. When I got this movie, and I didn't go to the theater for it. I saw it. It was at a rental. the box made it look like a horror. When you read the back of the box, it was psychological horror and expecting these bugs. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like this is going to get like, that's what I was expecting with this movie. Right. And I'm this far in. And even now I still have that bitterness from that experience because this could have been a really good horror movie.
It sure could have.
But this is like the complete wrong way of showing this kind of relationship. I'm sure the play is better.
The play reads so much better. And just for what it is, you're able to understand that, like, where she's coming from, and you're able to understand like why he chose the wording that he did, and you're able to see like all the like you're able to read the nuances, and like there are no nuances here. It's just like a big ass shit show. But it's a shit show because whoever decided to film it the way they did, so the movie in itself, like the way that he handles Michael Shannon, certain things throughout the movie, like before he's fucking scratching his whole goddamn skin off.
Right.
Before that, like it's handled in such a way that like it could make sense.
Yes.
Like, and a lot of it, like there's not very much that needs more convincing, because even when he talks about like, oh, like I don't want to talk about it. I really don't want to get you involved with this stuff. And like you could genuinely see that he is like, look, I'm going through some shit. I mean, I like being around you, but I'm going through some fucking shit right now. And it's unhealthy.
Was it that? Was it that, or was it I don't want the government to get you, and part of his paranoid delusion?
Not in the beginning. Yeah.
You don't know that, because like this is not oh my gosh, his paranoid delusion just like snapped wildly into reality. Like that is a set ingrained, he's had this delusion that he thinks that he is a government test experiment, and that shit is going wrong for him because of the government. And
well, yes.
So I think that even at that point, when he was like, oh, well, I don't want to tell you. Oh, I shouldn't tell you. I think that's less of like, I'm dealing with some things and I don't want to bring you into it, and more of, I'm scared that the government is going to also kill you, so I shouldn't tell you.
Now that's an interesting. I have a separate opinion. Like this is really interesting because my point of view was this was him drawing her in. This was him recognizing the trauma that she had as well. And I understand he's batshit. Yeah, this was like him adding to their toxicity.
See,
yeah,
I understand that. I don't. Now that you've said it, I understand why it would look that way. I think for myself, just the way that it was filmed, like if I'm taking the play part out of it, if I'm trying to just only watch it at like base level, I feel like just the way that it was filmed, when him saying like, I don't want to bring you into it, like I've got some shit going on right now, and then like still things are still kind of fine visually. There's a specific moment when he's like, oh, well, when he gets off the couch, when he's not sleeping, when he's like, I can't fucking sleep on this, and lays on the floor, and we look at the fucking fan, and then the helicopter shit starts going off. I feel like it's that exact moment where he was like, and just lost his whole fucking cookies.
I just think that was part of it. Like, like when you talk about people like with PTSD, they have their triggers that set them into a manic state. And I think that's what that was, but I think it was always there. But so he explains to her about the anonymous calls, and the government, realizes that, that somehow in some way they knew they were going to meet. Well, this gets her hotter than Cardi B on a fucking vehicle with no suspension. And they fuck. And it's nipples galore. It's the worst sex scene
I've ever seen in my whole fucking life.
Yeah, it's not great. But then...
I'd rather watch Maroon 5.
Then after he is in the business of giving her Gutlocker the business, he then tells her that her room's been infested by bugs, and that the government sent them there as part of the experiment. And she it gets dick drunk and completely buys into his shit.
I have an STD.
For real, like it would have been fucking fine. It would have been fine, but he woke up so violently and fucking slapped the shit out of his arm.
Yeah.
and was like, oh, and she's like, what the fuck is your issue? And like, she was fine. But then, you know, that fucking, like, you just got that good dick, and then you wake up, and then not only are you dick drunk, but now any other set of fucking insecurities and flaws that happen within you, you're immediately trying to resolve all of them with that dick that just fucking whatever the fuck he did.
Yes.
So
And
all of her fear of abandonment, fucking more trauma bonding, and just the whole entire rest of the movie is just being able to watch the process of fear, just drowning out logic and reason.
it gets odd. So then, you know, now she starts getting fucking bad shit from this toxic relationship. And now RC, our lesbian protagonist, that's not the protagonist, tries to convince him to get away.
With
And
garbage ass acting.
It's not convincing at all, and mentions that there's a man named Dr. Sweet that is looking for him. But then he has a fucking episode. She's like, "Go away, RC. I gotta tend to my man because I'm dick drunk and
This is my
gaslit and
man.
toxic. Yeah, this is my man. He gives me good dicking. I don't care how crazy he is.
And it only
Because let's be
happened
fair,
once.
guys. Crazy fucks good, right? That's just what it is.
I mean, because they have nothing else
Very
going
sad.
on for him.
Yeah, right.
Buck Cherry did say so. You're right.
Buck Cherry. You gotta go with Buck Cherry. So then they start, like, the film starts to kind of take a weird time frame, and you know, it feels like you kind of lose sense of time and how long things have been going on. But soon they're sealing themselves in and covering shit with fly paper and the aluminum foil and the bug zapper.
Did they Amazon all this like plastic and bug zapper lanterns and like did they
And the
Amazon
fucking microscope.
in 2006?
You know, that's a great point. No, and I don't know
No, the
that
microscope used to be her son's.
Yes.
Word.
Yep, you're right there. It was a child's
Word.
microscope. But
Yeah.
you bring up a good point because that's a lot of fucking trips
Right.
to the fucking, you know,
And nobody
Harper
said
Hank
anything.
in rural
In the little tiny Oklahoma where they have 20 of these bug zapper lanterns that they
Yeah.
bought them out at Ace Hardware.
You know what they did? Ace Hardware and fucking fries.
Gosh, be gosh.
Yeah, right?
Was fucking Fedco still a thing in 2006?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Was it in Oklahoma at the time?
I mean, for real, huh?
Right? I'm thinking they got Ace Hardware and Hardware Hank. They got Ace and Hank out there. I think that's about it. And maybe a fucking Pomida. But that's about it.
Not a Pomida. Oh my god.
Not enough
So-
for the supplies they covered that freaking hotel room with.
Like, did they have Costco? Right? Costco
They didn't have
was
Costco memberships.
You know,
Who
so
took those motherfuckers into a Costco?
no, I'm like fucking RC could have. Maybe she was tripping.
Yeah, okay, that's believable. More believable stuff.
They could have fucking bought. They could have stole it.
Totally believable.
I
So,
want to know when they left. They never left.
no.
Right.
Well, and that's
He
what I'm
did
saying.
like twice, but
the
like
time
that's it.
frame the time frame gets really fucked up here, right? And this will come up to the end. I think we'll discuss that more, like who left and what happened, when we get to the end of this thing. But so then at this point, Peter thinks that there's bugs in one of his teeth. Michael Shannon, this is Michael Shannon being Michael Shannon. Like, I think Michael Shannon could actually be the next Nick Cage if he wanted to be, because he tears that motherfucker out.
He sure
And-
does.
And with it's like, wow.
In the mirror.
Yeah, good job, Michael Shannon. And then using the microscope, he says that there's bugs in it and crushes the tooth. And Agnes just takes him as his belief and says, "Oh yeah, bugs," and helps him with it.
And like his
So
fucking mouth is all bloody as shit. How did you not get like fucking dry socket?
Right? I mean, he ripped that bitch out by the roof. Now, again, you could say that's the horror element of it, but that's just more a disturbing
This is
part.
gore.
Yeah,
Right.
that's just disturbing. So enter Dr. Sweet. And
Sweet.
yeah, sweet. And he tells Agnes that Michael Shannon escaped a mental institution and has delusions about insects. And then fucking Michael Shannon comes in and kills him and tells her he was a robot sent by the government. And she buys it. She's all in.
So it's okay. It's not a real person. This is super robot.
Which okay, all right.
It's
Now,
such a good robot that it looks humid when I stab it.
and
Right?
if you're that far gone, okay, like I'll even accept that part. They tried to throw in like a maybe he really was a robot kind of thing. It was real brief, but she was like, "Oh, well, how do I know? How do I know? Like, blah blah blah. How do you know this?" And then this motherfucker starts smoking some weed, and I'm like, "Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You're a doctor. And you should just lighten up right now. Like, what's really cracking off?"
Well, and a robot's, why does a robot need weed? That's all I'm
Right.
gonna say. Why does
Yeah.
a robot need weed? A robot doesn't need weed to calm down.
Right.
Then we get the two that, that now he's brought her in, saying that that her son was kidnapped by the government to lead them together, and that they need to mate so that way the bugs can take over the world. And
When delusions reach its final form.
yeah. Finally, yeah, it's over 9,000 at this point. So they. Why it's turn? So yeah, then they douse each other with gasoline and set themselves ablaze.
Yep.
And that's the end of the movie. The end. Now there is an end credit. If you go through, did you guys see the scene in the end credits?
Oh god.
The thing is, they see the toys and the rooms are fine. There's no sign of the aluminum foil, and the movie's back at the original shot of the dead body on the floor, which was Dr. Sweet. So there's a lot of ideas that what did we see that really happened. So this is.
So the supplies might have not even been real.
So this is where I have the issue with the movie, because not that I need everything to be explained. Believe me, some of my favorite movies are movies that lead you with some sense of your idea of what happened, right? Yeah. But this is done poorly in that regards. But it does kind of give you the sense of, okay, and I hate this kind of thing where it's just unreliable narrator, point of view the whole time. And I like that with some sprinkling of some realism in it, okay? But this doesn't give you any sign that this is what's happening here until this end scene of the movie. And then you're like, well, what the fuck was the point? Okay, you could have given me hints throughout the movie. You could have dropped little things here and there, little glimpses that things were off, like just a really cool panel, like the moon being back to normal and being like, wait, are what we're seeing happening? And then bring that in and go, oh, interesting, and elaborate a little bit on it. Like this just did not translate well to the film, and it's unfortunate that no one caught this and that they just left it the way it is. That's my opinion. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm mad that they would put it at the end credits. Like,
right.
Fucking, as
That
bad
seems
as
like
the shit is, just
dedication.
watching it, like you sit through that whole ass film and you watch it and you're like, this was garbage. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh man, I hope there's something at the end. Like, the fuck? No.
Yeah. No. So, all right, we all agree that it just didn't work for different reasons, and I thought it was really interesting how we had different points of view what was going on, which normally would be the indication of a good movie. Unfortunately, nobody knows what the fuck this thing's about, and it's not compelling enough to make us really care. We're not digging into, well, I think it's this way because of all these things. It just doesn't matter. And that's a sign of a bad film. So, with that, Boygerd, let's do our casting. First of all, let's start with our directors. If you could pick this movie and redo it in 2006, who's directing it for you?
Ooh,
How are we fixing it? And what's your vision? What's your vision, by the way?
Let's see. So I think I would definitely have a better location. So there's that. Like,
Okay.
that's the first one. And my directors are actually a 2-part thing. It was going to be a double director thing because I think that they would work well for what I envision it to be. I think that I definitely want it more psychological, but I want, like you said earlier, I want more sprinkles of like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Like, I want more allusion to like, is this real? Is it not? Like what? Like kind of what Inception
Like have
did.
the scene glitch out.
Yes.
Yeah, like how Inception was like, all right, is Leonardo, like, is he dead? Like, what the fuck? Like, is he still dreaming? Like, that's the kind of illusion.
Like, did he actually pull his tooth out?
Yeah, right.
You know, like
Right.
what was he really ripping off his skin? Like, is fucking Michael Shannon actually real? Is this all just Ashley Judd's illusion? Like, all that kind of thing, you know? So
absolutely.
So, I think so. I put two of them, and it would be M. Night Shyamalan, because I think that he would definitely get the Shyamalan. I think he would get the views of like, all right, for the illusions part, like just to be able to hint at whatever else should be going on. And I think that Andre Aja, the one who did The Hills Have Eyes, I think that just location wise and like being able to pull it all together, like that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. So of the two, I know you do this all the time. You pick two, but of the two, I'm gonna make you stick to one. Which one are you sticking with?
I can't. What do you?
Oh, okay.
What?
All right. Fair enough.
I give this whole last explanation. You're like, no, you still need to choose.
I get what you're saying. All right.
He's saying they would work together.
You're saying they would work
at the same
together.
time.
Okay, that's an interesting dynamic. I will admit, I have. Well, I'll say mine, and then we'll go back through. So I'm kind of in the same boat with you on this one. In that,
you're gonna fucking make me choose one, and you're in the same boat. This guy.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I have one director. I have one. Director.
Okay.
But I'm in the same boat of what I want the movie to be. If this is really supposed to be a psychological horror, I want that psychological horror. If this is supposed to be something where you're questioning what's really going on in the movie and what it all means, and really giving it some good layers, because you know it was hard. I will admit the recasting was a little difficult for me because there are a lot of strong actors in this, but at the same time, this does need a far better captain at the ship. Someone that's really good at making people feel disturbed when they're watching their movies and afterwards feel like they need to go take a shower. So I went with Lars von Trier.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, of Nymphomaniac and Mother and those veins. Absolutely. Okay.
Like cringe horror.
Like cringe horror, because like again, there's some really cringy things in here that just weren't done effectively.
I feel like if there should be like a scene, just I feel like we were kind of robbed of like another space of emotional investment for the son. I think if we had like a tiny ass glimpse of like him in the supermarket, like even if it were just like his little feet, and like we don't know what happened, just so that we could either allude to, you know, she lost him, he was kidnapped, maybe he didn't get snatched up when he was that age, you know, like just some sort of more emotional investment, because I didn't feel as invested in Ashley Judd as I wanted to.
Right.
And that's because, you know, we just went straight into trauma bonding and like immediate fear of abandonment. And I'm like, fuck, bitch, like I've dated too many people for this kind of shit. Like I don't want to watch it on screen.
When you do that and you just like ignore her whole part of her trauma, then it just makes him look extraordinarily crazy. And I feel like maybe the person who wrote the play was trying to show that like PTSD is so misunderstood and that people like see it as this like super violent and dangerous illness and all this stuff, but it portrays it as like, oh, they're crazy and we need to just like get rid of them, instead of like being an advocate for PTSD.
And I also think that in the way you guys are also talking about it, it sets up a problem where Ashley Judd is basically just a plot device for Michael Shannon. There's no real development there. We have no true investment other than what is this crazy bitch doing with this crazy guy? So yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are done wrong. I think that's why we all kind of looked at this and went, this doesn't work on multiple levels.
Right, and they didn't depict mental illness correctly. Like, no. I mean, there's not necessarily a correct way to do it, but this was absolutely the wrong way to do it.
The wrong way to do it.
Like I was mentioning earlier, you know, he had some decent points when he was saying some things. You know, we were like, oh man, all right, that could be some shit. But just because of all this, like him ripping the fuck out of his teeth or his tooth, and like just sitting there, you know, bleeding out and then smashing his tooth, it delegitimizes, you know, what he's going on.
Yeah, and same thing with
know.
the arm. Same thing with the arm, right? Like,
right. And so if you're just gonna, you know, put crazy batshit people in order to get your fucking point across, like that's not the right way to do it.
No. So now let's get to who else did you want? You know, we did some recasting. What orders do you want to go in? Who's next? Who are we going to talk about for recasting there? Boy Judd.
Let's see. We can do the lesbian friend next.
Okay. So
I did her also.
Okay. Well, was that your surprise one?
Oh, word, yeah.
Yeah. So all right. Well, there you go. So let's do. Okay. Let's do the abusive boyfriend. Let's do Jerry. Jerry.
Ooh, I didn't even recast him.
Oh, okay. Okay, you did.
Because I think for all the other people that I have going on.
Who's your next recast then?
Let's see. I have Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon recast.
Okay. Who would you redo for your Ashley Judd?
Oh, Charlize Theron. Like, the fuck, hands down. Like that bitch was in Monster. Hell yeah, that's it. Run it.
We landed on the same person for the exact same reason.
Fuck yeah.
Yep, I had Charlize Theron and I immediately went Monster because here's my problem with Ashley Judd in this movie. She was too pretty. In my mind, she was too pretty, and I know Charlize Theron is gorgeous, but she's
not Monster.
Not in Monster.
Drop it down though.
Yeah,
and she drops it down, but good, right? Like she can
look just
terrifying
like that bitch, though. So like,
yeah, and she can really dig into a character that's traumatized and like on drugs, and really get that look. That So I'm with you on that one. Okay, so we had the same person, so that's obviously. Right on. So who'd you have then for Michael Shannon?
So for Michael Shannon, who's great, but I think that for what I'm looking for, I wanted a little more. Like he wasn't psychologically crazy. Like if we're trying to get there, you know, with like, oh fuck, what's he gonna do next? Like Michael Shannon doesn't have surprise what the fuck you're gonna do next. Like when he walks in, you're like, he might be into some fishy shit. But you're not like almost uneasy looking at him until after he does weird shit. So for Michael Shannon, I chose Giovanni Ribisi because that motherfucker is so dynamic and just like him being able to get into character. And if they were to make him look like a little already like if they had him walk in with like some sort of shoulder tick, you would already know some shit was about to crack off.
Right. I could get that. I had a similar idea in regards to I love Michael Shannon. But we have to recast. And this wasn't a great role for him per se. There are scenes where you're like, you get that Michael Shannon awesomeness. You're like, yes. But for as little as that's there and the rest of it, I think he plays the character all wrong. I went with someone who's a little bit more method, and I think has gotten into some really crazy roles and made him very believable. I went with Ed Norton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. See,
we'll talk about it. It. Absolutely. Okay, so you already revealed your surprise.
I have two, but that's all.
Okay, okay, that's fine. I got two surprise ones as well. So let's start with your RC. Let's start with your lesbian friend. Who's your lesbian?
RC? Christina Applegate.
Very nice.
She would have done so much better.
So much
like
better.
Even there's a specific hair flip that the RC does, and I literally I rewound it 3 times so that Smoke could watch it. Because I'm like, look at this bullshit ass fucking hair flip. Like Christina Applegate could never, hands down. And like Giovanni Ribisi and fucking Christina Applegate, like that, just them being in the same room, you know, some shit would be weird.
So for me, my other one was the abusive boyfriend, Jerry. Because Harry Connick Jr. was completely, I'm sorry, he's done so much wholesome fucking movies and shit, and I'm just like, no, it's like all I see is Harry Connick Jr. from like Hallmark, and I'm like, fuck that. I wanted someone with a little bit more bite, and I thought we could get a little bit more out of it, even though he's not in a whole fuck lot. I went with Vince Vaughn for Jerry.
Oh, that's perfect. That's in that era.
Maybe.
Because in that era, because not now we know Vince for being fucking comedy and things like that. But you look at some of his stuff does, and he would have that snap character, which is
Okay,
fucking
but like
explode.
Vince Vaughn and what though? Like where?
Well, okay, like what kind of Vince Vaughn are we gonna get?
Yeah, because I'm a little shaky on this
Okay.
Vince Vaughn business.
Okay, so my idea of Vince Vaughn is something like Swingers, Vince Vaughn, something along the lines of The Cell, Vince Vaughn, something along the line of Psycho, Vince Vaughn.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, that dark.
All right.
Like I said, in the early '90s and 2000s, he was different. Then he kind of got into that groove after The Cell. He got into Zoolander, got into Old School, got into fucking Starsky and Hutch and all those, and then he became a comic guy. But you gotta remember, he was doing more serious roles back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm talking him getting back to like his beginning, like when he was crawling up in the trying to be a serious actor, Vince Vaughn, because he has it. He does have it.
There was one that you said that I forgot about. So The Cell. You're right. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
He's
So
a good
who's
Peter Novak? You're right.
yeah? Who's your next one? Who's your other surprise one for me?
Oh, the music score.
Okay. I love how you always go for the music. I love it.
Fucking like. Well, the reason I always go for the music score because like no matter what movie it is, no matter where it is or whatever, there's always going to be one person at least at the end of the movie that's waiting for the music. It's not the fade out credits one, but that second one that's always like, this is my shit. Like, so
Yep.
like you always gotta give a shout out to the music buffs. So the one who wrote the score was Brian Tyler.
Correct.
He did Fast and the Furious and Transformers. He worked with Danny Elfman and all that. But like sort of in the same vein, I would have done Steven Jablonsky, who also did Transformers, but he also did Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning.
Yes.
Which is my personal favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's one of the best. It's one of the better ones.
Like I watched that fucking 15 times over, and the soundtrack was amazing. I think for what I'm looking for, I definitely think that Steven would be fantastic for the recast.
Well, for my surprise one, I went back to the writer well.
Yeah.
As much as I like Tracy Letts, the problem I think Tracy Letts had with this was he was too attached to his play, and when he wrote and did the adaptation for the screenplay, he had too much of the theater in his mind for this one for movie. Mm-hmm. And I also, if I went with the director of Lars von Trier, he's also going to write it. Mm-hmm. And he's going to take that play and he's going to make it adaptable. He's going to give us more than 3 rooms. Right. He's going to give us more of what's going on. He's going to give us more outside and exterior and actual fucking let the movie breathe versus looking at it from a 3-part stage. So that's where I went with my right. Like nothing against Tracy. Like absolutely, the play, keep it based on the play, but you got to let it breathe into a movie.
Right. Yeah. Like I'll give you like a half a point for that one, because it's almost cheating to give him the same shit, because that's kind of what the other 2017 Bug did. It was
Yes.
Yeah, but they did like 4 different things.
I mean, yeah, but they're stupid. So there's that.
I will say again, any Lars von Trier movie, he writes and directs it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So writing and directing is okay. It's just like when you go into like production and editing as well as directing and writing, like that's a lot.
I've seen movies where people write, direct, star, edit, fucking produce, and fucking do the music for it. So yeah.
I think as part of the writing, like if you're gonna keep Lars in there, I think part of the writing crew, I think we should also put Eli Roth in there if you're gonna do it.
I'll give you that. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll totally give you Eli Roth in there.
Because he's there, but I think with Lars he would be able to take it to the next fucking level.
Yeah. So I don't know if we necessarily need a debate on this one because we both had the same actors. We picked a lot of the different people, in this thing in terms of like You know, I'm going to go with your pick for for Peter, because Edward Norton, as good as he is, I also think at that point he was already up his own ass, which became a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was he doing in fucking 2006?
Oh, fuck, I can't remember.
I know that he did fucking The Incredible Hulk in 2008 like a fucking dumbass. So
I think he would have been too soft for this.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think he would have been there. This is well past fucking American History X and Fight Club.
He did The Illusionist in 2006.
Oh yeah, soft.
Yeah.
Soft.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was not in his 80s Rounders, American History
Soft.
X. The People versus Primal Fear.
Yeah.
Red Dragon.
I don't think that Ed would be able to get weird though. Like I don't think that he'd be able to be spacey weird, because I don't like just taking how he acts in Fight Club. He doesn't transcend that character. You know
He's not
a
Nick Cage. He's not a Nick Cage, if that's what you're implying.
Right. Absolutely. He does.
Who was on my short list? Nick Cage was on my short list, but I'm like, if I'm going to put him in a Lars von Trier movie, it's going to clash like oil and water.
Oh yeah,
Nick Cage is going to take it to a comedic level, and this is not where I want it to go.
With that stupid ass weird voice he does. Like, fucking relax.
Or if he does, I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. He's running around going, I got bugs. I got bugs. Take my tooth out.
Right. And then has her do it.
My stall.
Can you fucking imagine Charlize Theron being like, I guess I'll take your fucking tooth out.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, I think we all agree on like the major flaws that were this movie. And it, again, I'm going to say for a movie that had a $4 million budget and had the star power of Harry Connick Jr., Ashley Judd, and Michael Shannon, you made a big mistake.
I feel like they tried to do it. I feel like they all were so committed and like they read the play and then were so ready, because I mean that's all actors are, just a whole bunch of fucking theater kids and like waiting for a better, moment to shine. Like, I mean, look at fucking what's his name? Who's the one that does the voice of Groot? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. I can't remember. Yes.
Okay. So like he's a theater kid, and he was doing great, and then Fast and Furious and like all these things, and then
it's Vin Diesel,
and then that's right, Vin Diesel, and then like now that motherfucker's doing music, like come on.
Well, and here you hear a lot of actors talk about how they do the big blockbuster movies,
right?
So they take the artistic roles that they want to take, right?
Right.
But
then they get typecast.
Yeah,
but then they make money to do their fucking art. Like,
right.
I mean,
there's no reason why anybody should have made money doing this.
Now I'm going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes because this always pisses me off. Because again, I don't agree with that. I do not agree with something where 65% is fucking rated fresh. Again, if I got a 65% on anything in my life, I'm probably going to get, an F or get fired from my job. Right. This movie is sitting at a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is just 3 points below their rated fresh. Smoke the Bear, do you have any comments on our picks?
No, I feel like they would enhance the framework of this movie. Like, if we can just like pull it away from being like this is mental illness and turn it more into like an actual horror movie, then it would be worth watching again.
Which is not what's happening.
Like,
well, they both were. Yeah, like they both were. They both were just products of fucking circumstance. Like, it's like, oh man, hey, this girl invited me to this fucking hotel, and now like I'm telling this bitch about my trauma, and now we're fucking crazy together. Yeah. And for her, she's like, oh, this homegirl like brought this dude to my fucking hotel, and now we're in drug-induced paranoia, and fucking let's kill each other. And
the other thing that bothers me is that Agnes, the lesbian friend, or excuse me, not Agnes, RC, she's the one that supposedly knew this Drifter guy.
And then later was like, no, I've only met you once, blah, blah, blah. Like, Come on, you can't backpedal.
Mm-hmm.
And you say this after they've been together for like X amount of time. It's been at least 3 weeks.
I was even thinking months, honestly. I'm
Well,
like, this has
I
got to
mean,
be months.
Well, okay, so in the beginning, fucking whatever his name, McConaughey, fuck, what his name?
Harry
Michael?
Connick.
Yeah, Harry Connick.
Yeah, Harry
Okay,
Connick.
so in the beginning, Harry Connick is like, I gotta go and run a couple errands. I'm gonna go do something, and I'll be back in no more than 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so there's that time frame where like she does come in again because she's like, hey, you want to hang out? And like when he shows up, then I think RC shows up like randomly and then like leaves out the frame again.
Yep.
So there, right there was at least 3 weeks tops. If Homeboy is true to his word, and I'm assuming that he is, because like he was in the slammer and he robbed her for her money. So we'll assume that was 3 months, or excuse me, 3 weeks. Okay, so there's 3 weeks that passed.
Yep.
You didn't say anything then, and they were acting real fucking weird then.
Yeah. Where were you this whole time? And again, you worked together.
Has she been going to work?
Right.
Yeah. Have you been going to your job? What's been happening? Yeah. What is going? Like I said, there's just too much that's left out, and that you go, okay, this is just creating plot hole, and it's taking me out of the movie. Yeah.
Right. But to be like, unlike the other bug, there weren't unnecessary scenes. They just weren't. They just weren't good scenes.
Yes.
Sure.
All right. Well, that's I think a good tear apart of 2006's Bug, along with a wonderful synopsis of the 2017 Bug, from Smoke the Bear and Boy Gargagrin. Let's move on and let's do another ad. And I understand that you have games after our ad. Is that correct?
I do.
Boy?
I've got a couple of them.
I'm excited because I do not know what these games are. So let's go to our next ad and come back for game time.
Are you tired of insects harassing your epidermis? Are you sick of playing the snares in your kneecaps? Are those invertebrates infesting your indoor sanctuary? Here at BZ's Buzz and Zap 'em Warehouse for hoarders and antisocial incubators, we've got fly zaps and fly traps and avid snaggers and aphid oil beater bobbers. Fuck, those are the worst. Cow killers and clover mites and aluminum foil. We've got those blue light shits and zap fucking things that make noise, and we have those dangly hybrid creatures. Fuck! Dang fucking creature hanging things. Holy shit, they're fucking everywhere. Look, man, if you got bugs, which I know you do, they're everywhere, stupid skin crawling bastards, then you should hurry up and stock up on sugar spray too and foil, because the man is putting more bugs in to watch us. They know, man. They know. You'll be safe at BZ's. Come by sometime.
All right. Well, that was another interesting sponsor that we had this episode. I don't know. I hope we don't lose our spot on the showdown.
We need new ones.
I think we need to be a little bit more selective going forward. All right. Ollie G, you have games.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. Okay, so there are. It's a couple of them.
Okay.
They're just questions though, because why not? Okay, so the first one. So you're in a race, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're competing, and whatever this competition is, and you place. Okay, so would you rather you have placed first, second, or third? Why?
Ooh. Okay, let me ask you this. Can I ask a question about it? Or
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so is there different prizes depending on which place I take?
No.
Okay, it's all the same?
You get the same medal. But
prize driven, huh?
It's like I mean,
it says a lot about you.
Yeah, right?
Shit. It's gold, bronze, the gold, silver, bronze. That's it.
I'm just wondering, like, if like if like I'm gonna get something really fucking awesome for third place, and like cash prize is number one, but I really want the other thing, and the other thing costs more than the cash prize.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, no, let me think. First, second, or third. I mean, if I'm in a competition, a race or whatever, I'm probably gonna want. I mean, just my personality, right? I feel like I'm in a goddamn psych test here. Am I gonna get the bugs after this answer?
Probably. You better go get some fucking aluminum foil at DZ's. Sponsors.
I'm thinking. I mean, I'm probably gonna go first because that's gonna give me a better shot. I'm guessing there's probably like a group of it, so like, you always get better placing for the next one if you're first. So that's probably setting me up for the next one. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first place.
All right. Smoke, what about you?
It's just like a regular old race.
Look, you're in a race and you're competing. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the competition was, but you placed.
Then I placed in first because I'm the best.
Y'all are fucking outrageous.
What's wrong with this? I don't understand.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, first, that's like gunning, and then you're fucking burned out. For me, personally. Like, second place is cool, but like, you're not first. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not first. But third place, like, I personally, depending on what it was, hit me with that third place. Like, I'm probably not even supposed to have been competing. You know what I mean? Like, I probably wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. I'm just happy to be on the fucking podium. Like, I'm not second because oh man, yeah, that person came in second place. Like, nobody ever remembers second place. But third place, I got a medal. I got to stand on the podium. I got some fucking flowers.
I can kind of see where you're coming from because when you look at, say, the 1994 infamous skating Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember who got first?
No.
Do you remember who got third?
No.
But you remember Nancy Kerrigan.
Yeah, well, see?
There you go.
Yeah, but that's not because she got second. That's because she stabbed a bitch.
Right.
She didn't stab it. She was the one that got hit in the knee.
Oh, but
she was the one who got stabbed.
Yeah, she's the one who got stabbed.
Yeah, but I mean, that's happenstance. You know what I mean? So, like for me, like you could be the Michael Phelps of everything, and that's cool. I want whoever is competing to do the best that they can, very best that there's nobody ever been except you, first place winner. That's great, but if I'm just trying to get on the podium, like if I was hauling ass and I'm like, fuck, dude, like this is really taking a lot out of me. Like, third is cool. I was in 7th place before this, and then you know what? I said I was a little engine that could, and now I place, and I could just put it on my wall, and I never have to do it again.
Well, and you're kind of that guy that like wants to just float and get his thing, and not have to worry about all the bullshit that comes with number one.
I personally do not want to be big famous. Like, can you imagine just trying to take a shit and then a paparazzi just shows up under the stall? Like, oh, he wipes with his left hand.
Dude, I just spread him for him and fucking shat all over him and be like, here you go.
Get in there. See?
Get in there.
No thanks.
See, but look, if it's a hypothetical, then I'm gonna win. Like, why would I I'm going to imagine this race that I'm in where I don't win. Like, why would I imagine it?
I mean, if you're trying to be the most winning, then sure.
I'm going to imagine it, I'm going to win.
Third is
still winning. No.
It's not most winning, but it is winning.
First.
It's technically not winning. You're still only getting
I'm all hyped up on Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
that's like Spider Monkey.
I mean, that's fine. You could hella do that.
They're winners, Chip.
Right.
All right, so I have a game that I'm gonna expand upon from our last episode. Last episode, I asked you about the best titty shots in a movie.
It wasn't actually Judd.
It sure wasn't.
Sure wasn't. So this episode, I'm going to ask you guys, what is your top 3 either cock shots or packages that you've seen in a movie?
Top 3?
Yeah, the top 3,
Okay.
like maybe like the
First
pants
one,
are
first
showing
one,
up really tight
easily.
junk.
Fucking first one easily. Bruce Willis in fucking Pulp Fiction. Like, fucking off top.
Those
All right.
jeans.
All right. Number 2
He was in the
for you.
shower, you know what I'm talking about? Like, that shit was jank as fuck.
Yep.
Okay. Does it have to be movies?
Does not have to be a movie.
Okay. Number 2 is because we just watched Survivor. Colby was waiting for the fucking what is it?
What was that, season 3?
Season 3. He was waiting for all
The
the fucking,
finale.
the votes, the finale. He was sitting there live and in color. That motherfucker
Man
had his
spreading.
man spread, fucking spread eagle on his fucking little knees and shit and everything. You see his cock and balls, and every single time every time fucking Jeff read the names, he got harder and harder. And you know what? I'm fucking here for it.
It was
Here you go. That's
interesting.
good. That was like, and then was so excited. Probably didn't even realize he was fucking fully erect.
hard.
And fucking jumped around and picked Tina right the fuck up and gave her a full blown hug. Man, you can't write shit like that. You just can't write shit like that.
And your number 3.
Ooh, number 3. Okay. That one fucking guy in Beauty Shop, like the only black dude or the only dude in Beauty Shop. Like they're all convinced that he's gay, but he just likes white women. He like at one point like they show his crotch. And like it's so sneaky to where I'm like, you know what? I can appreciate that.
All right. SOB, what do you got? Or STB, what do you got? What's that?
Jason Segal and Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay.
Oh,
That little like shake he does.
Mm-hmm.
Tap, 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 tap. Shit's hilarious. Otherwise, I have a hard time remembering any other dick shots. I don't care for dick.
There you go. All right. So my 3 are David Bowie in The Labyrinth is number 1.
Ah, dude.
Man, yeah, you're right.
David
you're
Bowie.
right.
I'd make that number 3. So for like mine area.
Yeah,
But
David
just to
Bowie in
do
The
that.
Labyrinth is like rocking some serious fucking junkage in that movie.
Pad pieces.
Mm,
Cod pieces are great. You're right. You're right.
don't-
I can appreciate the shape of a cod piece.
I don't think that was. I think that was him. I think he's
Even
fucking.
better.
I think he's hung like a fucking beast. There's a lot of stories about him being hung like a beast. I'm gonna go with Kevin Bacon in Wild Things because he actually shows his junk in Wild Things.
I mean, it was bound to. Kevin Bacon's and everything.
Yeah, we saw Bacon's Bacon. I mean, it was great. it was what it was. And I believe in Velvet Goldmine. I believe you see Ewan McGregor's.
You know, okay, so Ewan McGregor and there was another one that he's in. Is it fucking?
There's another movie he was in too where you see his junk.
Yeah, was it Moulin Rouge? Like
that may have been it. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
and
there
it's a nice print.
He's got a print in there.
He's got a nice print. Ooh, honorable fucking mention.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Stiller in Dodgeball.
Mm-hmm.
When he's like, when he fucking like pumps the fuck out of it and then deflates it.
Well,
like it's a good shot.
It's a good shot, but it's that has been honorable mention because I thought about fucking Dirk Diggler in Boogie Nights, but that's not real. That's a prosthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not gonna legit that. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's get to Smoke the Bear. Our next feature. What do we got coming here? We are
looking at fucking Kids Next Door from Cartoon Network.
And to remind our audience how this game works is we don't tell each other. We just say we're each gonna pick 2 people randomly from this thing. We just make sure that the other one's not picking the same one. And we don't tell each other what's going on. So then we have to figure out how this movie is going to work. So STB, you start us off.
Well, I think that we need to start off with number 1.
Oh, well, I have number 1.
And that's where we need to start because that's that's the leader of the group.
That's how it starts.
My number one is a kid who I absolutely, if he's in a movie, I watch it. It's Finn Wolfhard. I love Finn Wolfhard. He is Mike in Stranger Things. He was.
I fucking knew that shit was gonna happen. I knew somebody somewhere in this bitch was gonna put some Stranger Things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Finn will. He's also gonna be in the new Ghostbuster movies. He was in It. He's a fucking powerhouse, and I really hope he doesn't get the child actor syndrome where he gets all fucked up because of it, because this guy's pure fucking talent.
I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
All right, who has number 2?
I have number 2.
All right, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Freddie Highmore. He was Charlie in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
He's also Norman Bates in Bates Motel.
Yes.
I think that he's just such a dynamic ass kid. And I think just for what number 2 was, I think he'd be able to like really elevate it and like be like, he'd have to gain a whole bunch of fucking weight, but like
number 2 like was actually who was running shit.
Right. That's what I mean.
Like that's a good behind Finn Wolfhard character.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Freddie Highmore is fantastic. I cannot go wrong with him. Okay, go on.
All right, so number 3 is Kuki Sanban, which Sanban is actually Japanese for number 3. So Kuki is a fucking Japanese 4th grader who, I don't know, she's freaking weird. So I put, sorry, I put Aquafina. Aquafina was in Ocean 8.
Yep.
Yep. She's a Japanese American, so that we keep it real.
Aquafina,
and I think that she would be hilarious. She could totally pull that character off. Kuki is a fucking kooky little girl. So.
Aquafina's with the shits. So.
Yeah, Aquafina would kill it.
Yeah, she would.
Yep. Then number 4, his name is Wallaby Beetles, and he's from Australia. And he's in love with Kuki. So I picked Liam Hemsworth. Australian.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And he's adorable. So it would be adorable across from Aquafina.
We got 30-year-olds in this movie.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. They look so young, and we decided they would be 20-year-olds, right? They would be 10 years later kids next door.
Right.
They're in college now. They could pull off college kids.
Right.
I get that. Yeah. All right.
Pull off college kids.
Who had number 5?
I have number 5, and number 5 is Abigail Lincoln, which is a play on words for Abraham Lincoln, because on the $5 bill is Abraham Lincoln, so she's number 5. And it was kind of really difficult to place her, only because I love Cree Summer. I've met Cree Summer. Cree Summer is the best person in the whole fucking world. So just trying to recast Cree Summer, fucking Susie Carmichael, that's fucking rough. But yeah, but I mean, it's live action, and Cree Summer is fucking 50 some shit now. So we can't have Cree Summer. So I chose Willow Smith because she would be bombacious. And can you just imagine number 5 just minding her own business and then breaking out into fucking song, and then continuing about her business, almost giving it yeah, you know what I'm saying, and every time something happens, she'd be like, Marceline, at any given point.
I dig it.
And, I also chose her because she acted her fucking ass off in I Am Legend, and
I'll get behind it. And
Willow Smith is the shit.
And I had the director. And I went with a director by the name of Harry Bradbeer.
Of fucking course you did, dude.
Of course I did, because he just did Enola Holmes. And is known for several movies. A Day with Charlie, As the Beast Sleeps, A is for Acid, The Brides in the Bath, Enola Holmes, The Millennium. I think that would fit well into what was. I think he could get the vision of what was Codename, Kids Next Door. So yeah.
Okay, so then since you made him the director, what kind of plot would you give him, or would you give Codename?
Ooh, so well, this is kind of like I'm glad we waited till the director, because now I know who we're working with. We got people from like in their teens all the way into their 30s in this movie, right?
Uh-huh.
So to me, this is almost like a reboot of like a Neighborhood, where there's like a conspiracy going on. There is in the show. Everyone's in this conspiracy. The conspiracy's happening. This conspiracy's being thrown throughout this fucking neighborhood, like in the elementary school, in the middle school, and in the high school. Because let's be fair, no teen is playing any fucking teenager in a horror movie in high school, right? They're all in their 20s and 30s. And we're always like, right. Why is that 30-year-old got crow's feet under her eye?
Right.
So I think that's what you have. Like, the older actors, they're coming in from the high school, and then the 20-year-olds, they're coming in from the middle school, and you have the kids in their teens, they're coming in from the elementary school, and they kind of come together like either like from a code or something like this, or like they crack something that's going on, and they kind of almost like a Scooby-Doo origins in a way is how I would describe this. So that's the vision that I have. All right.
Okay. So then who would you have like write it?
Oh, that's a tough one. Because children's writing is difficult, right? Like writers and things like that.
Okay, well then scratch that. What would you want? Like, what is the moral of it? Because it's a kids movie, so.
Yeah, but it's a spy movie.
Well, right. Yeah. So,
I think
what's the moral? Because even Spy Kids had a moral.
I got it. The moral of the movie, moral of it is that you have. So when you go from like elementary school to middle school to high school, the dynamics change, the hormones change, all these things change, and you start to see like this: kids that are older don't want to hang out with the younger kids, and the kids that are younger view the older kids as adults already, and they don't get it, and blah blah blah. And I think the moral is, we're all kids, we're all together in this, and this whole idea of these age classes, and because I'm in middle school doesn't mean I can't be friends with you because you're a fucking fifth grader. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're still all kids in the neighborhood. I think that would be the moral of the story.
See, that's what I wanted. All right. Okay, all right. I fucks with it. All right.
So whoever can write that effectively. You know what? Aaron Sorkin can write that. If he can write The West Wing, he can write this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, all right.
All right. So, I understand, Bear, we're going to change the dynamic of this game next episode. Tell the audience what that's going to look like going forward.
Well, we noticed that most of these cartoons are the kids because they're cartoons. Common sense. So, it would be easier to try to make a modern rendition of the cartoon in cartoon format, which means that we would be able to cast whoever we wanted as far as like voice actors go. And so it's less restricted on looks like this one where we had like a range of ages that we would have to like, hair and makeup it up.
Mm-hmm.
And take that element out, remove that element and be able to, I guess, have more creative freedom in who we're choosing.
Now, also a caveat to that was it has to be a film format, right? It can't be a series.
Right. Yeah. We're going to do just film version of like a reboot of a cartoon from the past.
Yeah, and reason why we did this is because we were talking about this again before the episode, and we had mentioned that, oh, by the way, that's been rebooted as a series on XYZ because that's the big thing to do right now. And we wanted to ignore the fact that they're out there. And let's be honest, there isn't a lot of insight into some of these, right? Into these reboots. Not a lot of people know that there was a Thundercats reboot or that there was, Yeah.
Also good.
Right. So, yeah, we want to do that in that regard. So, wow. Let's do our final ad and let's wrap things up, I think, because that's where we're at, guys.
Oh, it sounds like it.
All right. We'll be right back and we'll wrap things up because you're not going to miss what we're going to be doing next episode because that's going to be a real doozy. See you guys after the break.
seem a little on edge, you know? Like, maybe you should, like, oh, I don't know, man. Maybe you should take a nap. Man, I don't think your skin is supposed to be bleeding like that. Oof. Oh no, man, I hear you. They're always there, always watching. But then, why shouldn't you nap? They're always gonna be there. Like, stick it to them and just nap, man. Just nap. In fact, I got just the medicine for you. Melatonin sleep enhancing gummies. Gram packed with the body's natural sleep chemical. Yeah, man. Get you some sleep. Fight those bugs tomorrow. Just mellow out. Relax, man. Hey, mellow out, man. Just go home. Brought to you by Dr. Funkenstein's Apothecary and Home Goods.
Yeah, welcome back. We are going to have the three of us got to sit down and fire our marketing team or our sponsor team. They are not even fit to be lighting my cigarettes. Well, another one's down for season 2. So our next projects is going to be Dante's Peak with the one and only Pierce Brosnan.
What?
Yes,
How fucking dare you guys?
Oh yeah, dude, I'm stoked about this.
We are
This
doing
lava
Dante's
beast.
Lava Beast itself. Pierce Brosnan. That's right. It is James Bond fighting a fucking volcano.
Oh my god. Yeah, it is.
Miss
Yeah,
it.
it is.
It's fast
Yeah, it is.
action.
So we'll do that one, and then our first voice acting recast for our animated feature is going to be bringing back He-Man, Masters of the Universe. So we will be doing a voiceover change of what a modern day He-Man movie as a cartoon would be and who would play who. So
In the morning, and I step outside, then I take a deep breath, then I get real.
So
That's not news. Your fucking name is Smoke the Bear. The fuck?
So there we go.
I can't believe you guys had me fucking fighting a goddamn volcano.
Yeah, with Pierce Brosnan.
In good graces. Like I leave you guys alone for fucking 2 hours, and this is what happens.
You're welcome.
Yes, it is the 1997 disaster film Dante's Peak.
Can I just bow out? Can we have a special guest instead?
No, we cannot. You are in on this because you are going to sit through Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton just like the rest of us.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, this movie starred one Pierce Brosnan, one Linda Hamilton, and was directed by one Roger Donaldson. And you're going to go, who the hell is Roger Donaldson? I say, well, he directed Dante's Peak. So you have
right now. I can tell you right now, I would much rather lick the entirety of Santa Clarita, California, than have to watch Dante's Peak about the filmed location of Santa Clarita. I can't believe you.
You guys, this was directed by legendary director Roger Donaldson. To be honest with you, he did Sleeping Dogs. He did No Way Out. He did Cocktail. He did Cadillac Man. Then he went on to do The Getaway and Species. Then Speak and 13 Days and The Recruit and The World's Fastest Indian with none other than Hannibal Lecter.
You had me at Species.
I had you at Species, and I love Species. So yes, Dante's Peak and He-Man. So it sounds like Boy Jojario is not happy. But, you're just going to have to get over that, BG. You're just going to have to.
It's fine. I think I'm just more upset because, I'm more relieved now knowing that I can't accidentally watch something else named Dante's Peak and sit through it.
If you do, we're in some big
Let
trouble.
us know.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. I'm letting you know who's in the movie this time, so you don't.
I
make
knew
that
who was
mistake.
in the other one. I thought it was a flashback.
To give our audience and everyone here an idea, this movie is sitting at a proper 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Nice.
It's not. Yeah.
No. It's a 26%.
Yeah. Is it 26%?
It sure is.
And people are going to go, wait, was that a flop? And I'm going to explain something here. Yes, it was. It had a $116 million budget, only brought in $178 million. And again, as we talked about before, with marketing budgets, and this was everywhere. This movie was being marketed like a motherfucker to the point where it debuted at number 2 in the box office. So, yeah.
I told you nobody likes a number 2.
Nobody likes a number 2, except when you feel 10 pounds lighter after you're done.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yes, it was.
Number 2.
It was. Yeah, it was a flop. It did not do well in the box office, and didn't do anything to help anyone's career when it was done. So, till next time, I'm Paul Muad'Dib. That's Smoke the Bear. And of course, BG's own Boy Jojorio. And we will be here next Cast That Movie.